I don't go into a deal anymore thinking, what's my exit? No, what I teach people is, what's my entry? If you buy it low enough and you have enough control, the exit will follow. Let the deal tell you what the exits can be. You don't fight the market. I've tried, brother, for 8 years, market's undefeated. You know, it's Mike Tyson in his prime. It will knock you out every single time. We rolled up the Lost Mint company and we created an entire JV model where we will teach you how to go get these things. We will give you all the docs, all the training, multiple trainings a week. You go out and get them, you bring them back, we handle the rest of the back end, and then you make money when the exit is chosen.
It's a beautiful thing, guys. I always say real estate is like making a cake.
Debt and ownership are two totally different things, right? And if you understand that game, you start playing a whole different game. You just have to understand that.
Dude, I was just talking to a friend last week and he's like, he got out of wholesaling as well. I asked him why. It's like, bro, I brought in $5 million last year. Guess how much I kept of that? I'm like, I don't know, like 400 grand. I was like, 5 million, you keep 400? Screw that. So that's the thing about wholesaling is like, everyone knows it. They want to do it. It's a good little transactional way to start, but it's a stepping stone. You've got to find different avenues within real estate where you can own the property, to your point. Because once you have ownership, that's when you can build real wealth.
And again, the average cost per deed, by the way, it's $3,000 nationwide for us. So we're getting into properties that are 5, 6, 700,000, 400,000, 300,000. Granted, they have debt. We are owning a house day one without it. A lot of the times there's zero upfront. But basically, man, the first place I would start.
This is the Mr. BRRRR Show.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Today is going to be an exciting episode for really everybody. If you are a new investor, if you are an experienced investor in real estate, you're going to get a ton of value from the person I have on the show today. He built one of the largest wholesale operations on the East Coast, actually the second largest on the East Coast. And then he switched and pivoted into something that's really unique. There's not a lot of competition behind what he's doing. He's built a community around it to really just take real estate to the next level and really disrupt the industry. So I'm excited to interview him so you guys can get value and see what he's doing and how you guys can actually get involved and start making some really, really serious money with what he's doing. Because like I said, there's not a lot of competition and it's just crazy what he's doing, guys. I am excited about it. You should be as well. When you get value from this, share it so we can all grow together. So without further ado, Willy Davis, or Willy Numbers as they call you online. What's up, brother?
Appreciate you, brother. Yeah, what's going on, man? Thanks for having me.
Of course. Well, thanks for coming on. And so you built the second largest wholesale operation on the East Coast. Started in 2017, right?
Yeah, to be fair, it was in Florida. But yes, we were top 10 in the entire East Coast because, you know, like New Western is out of there. Can't compete with that. You know, it's 10,000 deals a year. But yeah, it was definitely the second largest in the state of Florida for a long time.
Good stuff. Well, what kind of got you into real estate and wholesaling and all that?
So I was a Merrill Lynch guy before, and I did the whole corporate, you know, college, that whole thing. I was on Wall Street for about a year. I got fired. I heard a podcast, which was actually Sean Terra's podcast back in the day, 2017. And I cold called the dude on the podcast and pretty much split my first 5 deals with him 50-50. So how I really catapulted into it. I didn't even waste time. I just went, you know, didn't think much of that.
So you started doing JVs, joint ventures.
No. So at the beginning, I was just wholesaling with my ex-partner and I. We were just, you know, outreach, all off market, never did on market. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just not the path that I took. And, you know, we scaled out that business year after year. And in 2019, I bought my first deed, which was kind of like a precursor to the old reverse flipping thing. I didn't call it reverse flipping back then. I just called it buying a deed. And we went on, we'll get into those details, but we went on to buy a lot of deeds from 2019 on. And it was always when the property was so hairy and so complex that it just wouldn't fit a wholesale, a flip model. Novations weren't even a thing in 2019, but it just wouldn't fit anything else. So we just started buying the deed and then fixing the problems on the back end.
Yeah. So when you say hairy and complex, like you just mean the problems.
Yeah. So like no debt, or excuse me, no equity, upside down, bankruptcies, IRS liens, massive code violations, zombie foreclosures, double, triple probates. I mean, you name it, dude. It was just very nasty. Partitions, right? A lot of like the legal and high level debt stuff that nobody was teaching. I learned it from a guy that had gone through '07, '08, that he had to buy deeds back in '07, '08, '09 because it was out of necessity, right? There was no other way to make deals happen. And there was a lot of short sales, right? And he kind of taught me the beginnings of it, like just getting the deed and just manually figuring out the problems on the back end, quiet titles and stuff like that. And I kind of just really taught myself. I learned a couple things here and there from some guys in the industry, being in masterminds and stuff, that were old heads. They had been doing hairy deals for 20 plus years, very creative guys, right? So I picked up on those kinds of things. And, when you learn something and you're a newer generation, you just tend to expand on it. And I kind of put my own taste on it, and I learned things like, oh, this can work, that can work. Oh, you can do this, right? And then that scaled out from there.
Beautiful. So tell people, like, some people might know exactly what a deed is. Some people might have no clue. So what
Sure.
exactly is a deed to a property?
So a deed is just the instrument that transfers ownership. That's the easiest way to put it. Most of the people that are going to hear this are probably wholesaling to some degree. So they're going out and getting an AB contract, which is just a simple contract. You have an agreement with the homeowner. You have what's called equitable interest, which is not ownership. You may or may not have the right to, market that property. When you get a deed, which typically happens at closing, right? When you get a deed up front, that's just what transfers title from, Devin BRRRR to Will Denis. And that's the ownership instrument that transfers it over.
So it's like a quit claim deed, right?
Most of the times, there's different kinds of deeds. It's a good point. There's probably about 10 different kinds of deeds that are used regularly. The most common are quit claim deeds or special warranty deeds. Typically, a closing, like a traditional closing, is going to have a special warranty deed because the previous seller is warranting that, hey, there's no debt, there's no encumbrances, there's no issues, there's no liens, and the title company stands behind that. You get title insurance. The quit claim deed is why you want to use it with this stuff, because you're basically saying, I'm quit claiming all the crap to you. There are problems with it. I don't know what they are. I'm warranting nothing. So that's why, you're taking on that risk, but that going in, obviously, because those are the problems you solve.
Yeah. So guys, to put a little context on this, like, think about a homeowner that is in bankruptcy, a homeowner that's behind on their payments. They've got all kinds of crap that they can't remedy. So they're kind of at a point where they need to get rid of this property. It's going to get taken from them. So you come in and you provide them with the quit claim deed. They sign it over to you. Now they're like, here, take the property off my hands. I'm losing it anyways. Is that kind of the gist of it?
Yeah. So basically, what we teach is a little bit different. Inside the school community, there's really 3 docs that you want to get. You want to get the deed. You want to get a limited POA, which is a limited power of attorney. And then you also want to get an assignment of surplus. Should it go to auction, in the worst case scenarios, you can collect a spread on the surplus.
So then what's the POA for?
So the POA is a key. Yeah. So remember I was telling you, since 2019, I've learned a lot of things throughout the process. One of the things I learned was, there's a good deal of these that turn into short sales, right? Where you need the seller to still sign documents to negotiate on behalf. It might be something as simple as like a mortgage payoff or some liens from the cities, right? So try doing that with 3-4 heirs, right? And finding them after you give it the money, right? They're gone with the wind. So learn that lesson, ask me how I know. So one day we just designed a POA with our attorney so we could go on and now have full authority and be able to sign on behalf and be able to negotiate. What it does is add speed, it adds efficiency and total control. And the banks can now negotiate with you or with our loss team.
Got it. So guys, there's a difference between ownership and debt. So that's kind of what Willy's referring to, is like, you can own the rights to a property. So if you have the deed, like, you own the property, but you don't own the debt. So the debt can still be in the person's name, the mortgage, all this other stuff. And that's what the POA is for, so that that stuff can be negotiated and move it down the line.
Yeah. So I like to say what we do is we create inventory by this strategy, because you got to think about it. There's millions of properties. I don't know the exact numbers. Nobody really does, right? Around the country that are sitting like this, at least 1.5 million properties that are what you would call, or some people would refer to as like shadow inventory, or non-existent inventory, where for one reason or another, debt, title, issues, whatever, that is non-marketable inventory. Meaning that a wholesaler couldn't go out and wholesale that. You could go out and get a loan, right? Like it cannot transact in a sale. So what we do is, through reverse flipping, we're creating that inventory and we're clearing up those issues and we're bringing that inventory to market. And then we choose our exit.
Got it. So guys, this is the cool part about it is, like, again, most people don't want to touch these deals because of all the crap on the back end. Like I've been doing real estate since 2019. I wouldn't have a clue how to do any of this stuff. Most people would have no clue. I wouldn't even want to, honestly. You know, it's just not worth it. If you, let's say, an average wholesale fee, I don't know, I was probably averaging around 12 grand. I would not want to put up with all the crap to make 12 grand. The cool thing about what Willy's doing is he's got a community where he has like basically a team that clears up all that crap. Like, is it loss mitigation? What is that team?
Yeah. So if you want to get into the background real quick, how this kind of like all tied together and how I, created reverse flipping. In 2022, I bought out my ex-partner from the traditional wholesale business. And at that time, to say that I was tired is putting it lightly, right? I was 600 deals deep. I had been there, done that in the regards of wholesaling, scaled up this massive team, right? $8 million a year in assignments alone, right? A lot of moving pieces, a lot of work. Yes, we made a lot of money, but it was not enough for the amount of work that we were doing. We also didn't control any of the real estate when you really look back, right? Like I said, all we had is a contract. That's it, right? The seller backs out. Now you got to go sue them. Now you got to go fight for that deal, right? So I knew I did not want to scale back up the traditional wholesale model. And I had about 23 deeds or so that we had accumulated through the years. We're buying out my partner. I kept them. And I just started going to work. It was the first time, 7 years deep in the game. I was like, man, I got some time on my hands. I've been running at a very fast pace. Let me just work these things out. Very small team. I was pretty creative, good attorney, right? And through that process, we found these consultants that a buddy of mine referred me to. And they had like 21 years of loss mitigation experience at every level of every servicer. And the last 8 years was writing all the Fannie Mae HUD guidelines. That's all they did for 8 years before they became consultants. So to say that these guys know the mortgages and the way that they work and the way that the short sale industry and the debt service and the loss mit and all that and bankruptcies and IRS liens work is an understatement. So the first couple deals, a bunch of and I won't say any names, but a bunch of the industry experts that I knew through masterminds told me they couldn't be done, told me they were duds, told me you can't do it this way, right? All this crap. And I'm a guy that, dude, you can't tell me no. Like, I'm going to figure it out. So the first couple of deals that I brought to these guys, they absolutely ripped it. Like, they debunked so many myths for me. And I was like, I don't know if we can curse, but I was like, holy shit. I mean, this is it. And we're talking about, and not every deal is like this, just to be fair for your audience, but these were Florida deals. We're talking about 6-figure deals almost on every single rip. Okay, on single family. One of which was a $400,000 deal. That was a $250,000 deal. It was a $180,000 deal. Talk about net, without flipping. This is just fixing the problems and just choosing an exit of a wholesale or a dispo. So, you see that a couple times, and about the fifth one, I made them an offer to buy their company and to partner, and they said yes, and we rolled it up in house and designed. My mentor said, you don't own the dog until you name it. So I named it. It was called reverse flipping, and that's what we trademarked. And that's where everything was born. And then I taught it to my community because I had traditional students, right? I've been teaching for about 2 years at that time. And I taught them this, taught them how to go after hairy deals, right? Because it was my niche. I just kind of didn't know it, right? And I taught them this, and like a couple of these guys went on to make $1 million in Miami. And they were young. They were like 26, 25.
First
and
year.
dude, oh yeah. Well, they had been in it for about 2 years. And then that was the first year with me. They were just targeting a different avatar, but very impressive, especially for Miami. So when I saw that, I'm like, all right, well, it's not just me. Can I teach it to somebody else? I did. Can I duplicate it? We can. And then we duplicated that with like 20, 30 people. To date, now the community has about 300 people in the school community. That's grown, and we only opened it up like in the last 35 days or so. So that's blown up very quickly. And now what we did was pretty much, we rolled up the Locksmith company and we created an entire JV model where we will teach you how to go get these things. We will give you all the docs, all the training, multiple trainings a week. You go out and get them. You bring them back. We handle the rest of the back end, and then you make money when the exit is chosen.
It's a beautiful thing, guys. I always say real estate is like making a cake. When you make a cake, you don't have to, know how to make a cake. You just need to have at least one ingredient and bring that ingredient to someone else who has the other ingredients that knows how to make a cake. So if you can just bring the deal to someone who knows how to do everything else, and then you just split some of the profit, that's a JV. That's how I did all of my real estate deals, guys. I would bring what I thought was a deal to my mentor. He knew how to do the flips. He knew how to wholesale. He knew everything I didn't know. The recipe or the ingredient I was bringing was the deal. So, guys, this is amazing what Willy's doing. He's giving you the ability to find deals, shows you how to do it. You just bring it to the team. They do everything, and then you split profits. Crazy.
Yeah. And even more so, look, I've ran operations that have done many tens of millions of dollars. And I've always wanted to be the guy, right? And I think that this is a big shift in an entrepreneur's brain. You have people that get into this business, myself included, where I was like, oh, I want to be the best at acquisition. Then you want to be the best at disposition. Then you want to be the best at transaction coordinating. Then you want to be, well, I'm the best wholesaler. So now I want to be the best flipper. Now I want to be the best sub-tour. Now I want to be the best novator, if that's even a word, right? Like, and then you want to be the best lender. Like, listen, what I've learned personally is that I'm not the best at all that at all. Nobody is. Okay. Usually you're better at one or the other. And very early on, even the way that I started my business was that dude had something that I didn't have, which was a buyer's list and know-how. I had something that he didn't want to give up anymore because he's at a different stage of his journey, time and sweat equity. So I went to time, sweat equity, brought the deal. He got 50% for doing the back end. And I learned it with time. And in this scenario, it's a little bit different because the loss mitigation is so complex. But we knew, and I had known from doing hundreds of these, reverse flips before I called them that. And I was like, dude, this is a massive void in the marketplace. No one's talking about it. I've been in all the top masterminds in the country for the last 6+ years. No one's ever discussed it. None of my friends who are doing 200, 300, 400 deals a year are talking about this shit. So I'm like, no way. And every time I would ask them, they would ask, how are you making so much per rip? And I'm like, well, it's this crazy ass deal. They're like, oh, no, we don't. I'm like, what do you guys do with it? They're like, we just dead them. And I'm like, well, shit, just send them to me. And my team will handle it, right? And dude, that snowballed real quickly. And of course, we can get into other things, right? Like I was able to avoid taxes. You showed me your license plate before, right? You own 23 pieces of real estate. That's about $12 million worth of value in real estate. You ain't paying taxes. Unless you're making like $3-4 million a year, you are not paying taxes on that, right? So there's a lot of depreciation that goes into it. There's a lot of creativity. You nailed something that most people don't, which is awesome. Debt and ownership are two totally different things, right? And if you understand that game, you start playing a whole different game in real estate. You just have to understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that, and I'm guilty of this as well. When I first got into real estate, I remember I talked about wanting to do it with a friend. It was on New Year's Eve going into 2019. So it was December 31st, 2018. I'm
Right.
like, man, I want to get into real estate. I want to start owning rentals. And, I was watching HGTV, seeing flip or flop and all that. And he's like,
Yeah.
no, man, you should do this thing called wholesaling. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wholesaling? What's that? And he's like, this dude, Carlos Reyes, that so-and-so knows. We had a mutual friend that knew Carlos. It's like, this dude, Carlos Reyes, is doing this thing. You just basically, you lock up a contract with paper and then you sell your rights in that contract for that paper. You never own the property. So like everyone knows about wholesaling, and it's like, I think it's a great way to make some transactional money early.
Mm-hmm.
But to your point, you have no desire to scale that out again because of the headaches that come with it. Dude, I was just talking to a friend last week, and he's like, he got out of wholesaling as well. I asked him why. It's like, bro, I brought in $5 million last year. Guess how much I kept of that? I'm like, I don't know. It's like 400 grand. I was like, $5 million, you keep 400? Screw that. So that's the thing about wholesaling is like, it's just, everyone knows it, right? Everyone knows it. So they want to do it. It's a good little transactional way to start, but it's a stepping stone. You've got to find different avenues within real estate where you can own the property, to your point. Because once you have ownership, that's when you can build real wealth.
Yeah. Look, that mentor that taught me that, the best lesson that he ever taught me, and he taught me a lot, but if I could take away one thing in the 18 months or so that we worked together, keep in mind, he had been through 07, 08. He was 10 years older than me. So he had seen stuff, which is usually how a mentor should be, by the way. You want a guy or a girl that's been where you want to be, not pretends to be where you want to be because they drive a Ferrari and they're this little online guru. So this guy had really been there. And he told me, he said, ownership is control. When you have ownership, you have control. And what that means for your audience, if you're wholesaling right now, and by the way, I come along and I get a deed from that same seller, unbeknownst to me that you have a contract, just normal course of doing business, and I record my deed, I'm not going to say the F word, but you are effed 100% because you got to reverse a transaction. It's over. The property transferred. And it happens fairly often. So again, it doesn't care about your NOI and all that crap and the memorandum and all that crap that they do. No, it's ownership. And now, again, we have the POA. So now we're in the driver's seat. We go to the lender. We can negotiate with the lender. Maybe it's a 3.5% interest rate. Maybe it's a great reinstatement. That's a sub 2, right? Underneath the reverse flip model. Maybe it's a clean property like the one we picked up today, 2023 built in Land O'Lakes, Florida. Shit, that's a brand new house. That's an ovation. Probably a keeper too, right? Maybe it's a wholesale. If it has the spread. We've negotiated short sales where the ARV is 520 and we pick it up for 180. People think that's crazy, but it still happens. You just have to know how to play that game, and that's what our team is so good at. So again, I don't go into a deal anymore thinking, what's my exit? No, what I teach people is what's my entry? If you buy it low enough and you have enough control, the exit will follow. It's irrelevant. Let the deal tell you what the exit's going to be. You don't fight the market. I've tried, brother, for 8 years. Market's undefeated. It's Mike Tyson in his prime. It will knock you out every single time. So I let first round, like 20 seconds. You know what I'm saying? So I look at it and I'm like, dude, you know what? I'm not going to fight you anymore. You tell me what we can do and you tell me what you need. And then I design an exit around that.
See, that's the beautiful thing is just the ownership piece. That's what I was so intrigued about is I look at all the deals that I've wholesaled over the last few years, and I'll actually look them up. If I've got some spare time, I'll look up the address, and I'm like, damn it. Why did I wholesale that? Why didn't I take that down? Why didn't I buy that property? Because now it's like it's worth way more. Let's talk about how easy it is to actually get one of these deeds. Like, how do you go about doing it?
So look, the only place that we're doing, like I said, we're a full JV model. So the school community is where everything, happens and funnels through. All the education's there. There's 300 almost people in there. They're all communicating. I'm in there, right? Justin Colby's in there as well. My attorney will jump on a call every single week. We have deal highlights. We have like 5 calls every single week. My sales director's in there. But basically, man, the first place I would start is your dead leads and your dead deals. If you have a CRM, usually where you're going to find a reverse flip. Because it always happens. People are like, hear about this and they're like, oh my God, that lady last month that we couldn't close because she had 2 mortgages. So call that lady back. Tell her that you got some new sauce and you got a new way to do this. And we're going to buy the deed, the POA, and then we're going to figure it out on the back end. And again, the average cost per deed, by the way, it's $3,000 nationwide for us. So we're getting into properties that are 5, 6, 700,000, 400,000, 300,000. Granted, they have debt, but we are owning a house day one for $3,000. A lot of the times there's 0 upfront. He tied in on the back end. He said, look, I'll give you 5 once we complete whatever we need to do on the back end. Right? So that's how easy it is. I mean, we literally have people come into our community and within 4 hours, 3 hours, they have deeds.
That's
crazy.
And
it's the only community I've ever seen.
What's the average size of a deal in the community?
It just varies, man, because we're in 16 states now. My average size of a deal in Florida was 60 to 70 for many, many years. It still is, Florida, especially South Florida. I would say the industry nationwide, and again, I like to answer this question with a lot of detail because I don't want to give out the wrong information, right? The average size of a deal, well, is it a sub 2? Is it an ovation, right? Is it a wholesale? Because there's different exits. But I would probably say somewhere around 40 to 50, something like that, okay, which is more than double the national average.
Okay. So guys, to put it in context, let's say you get into the school community with Willy, and let's just be conservative, and let's say you do 2 deals a month. I think that's being super conservative. You're actually applying the knowledge.
Yeah.
2 deals a month, extremely conservative. If it's
we got guys doing 5 deals a week.
So let's say 5 deals for the month then. That'll be conservative. Yeah. So 5 deals at 40 grand a pop. So we're talking about 200 grand. And the way it works out, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the person bringing the deal, that's their only job. They bring the deal, they submit it on to the community. Your team takes care of the rest. It's all tracked. Once it's actually done, 60% goes to you guys for doing all the back end, all the work.
Correct.
40% goes to the person bringing the deal, right?
That is correct.
So 200 grand, 40% of that, guys, that's $80,000 in 1 month. That's about basically $1 million a year for finding 5 deals a month.
Just shy of $1 million. $1 million would be 88,000. So if anybody wants to do $1 million a year, he nailed it. Those are your KPIs. Again, keep in mind, some of these might be keepers. You might end up keeping rentals. A lot of our people in our community are starting to see now, like, wow, this is so much easier than a sub 2 because we're creating a lot more equity than sub 2s. And not that I have anything against sub 2s. I love Pace. He's a good friend, but they're not negotiating the piece that we're negotiating, which is where equity is created, right? There's no use in me keeping a sub 2 with 0 equity. It does nothing.
That's the only downfall to sub 2, I think, is like 9 out of 10 of them are just there's no equity.
Now you're banking on a pipe dream of like, oh, well, real estate always goes up. Brother, I'm not trying to get rich, 10 years down the line, hopefully, maybe if Kamala or Trump, trying to get rich now, right? Like, what can I do today?
Dude, who said it? I think it was Brad Lee. He's like, people say get rich quick isn't a thing. And he's like, the hell it isn't. Like, if you're going to get rich, I want to get rich as quick as possible.
Sure.
So,
yeah. And I think that's within reason, like I didn't become a millionaire until I was 30. And I started at like halfway through my 25th birthday. Then that compounded drastically by the time I was 32. Right? I had a business divorce in between, but I got it back after the divorce less than 18 months later, multiple times over. And today, again, because of this strategy and volume, my wealth compounds at a rate that I only could have dreamed of, honestly, because you're compounding equity. Equity is wealth, by the way, right? So you're compounding equity. Cash flow is a whole other side. So there's 2 sides to being rich, right? There's been times on paper that I'm super rich, but I'm super cash poor, right? In cash, I'm like, oh man, I got like 50 grand in the business account. But on paper, I'm like, I got $5 million worth of real estate with equity, right? Yeah, but you can't tap
Yeah.
it. So you got to figure that part out, right? But then cash flow is another thing. Yeah, okay, we bought a sell two. We're gonna make $150 a month. Jesus Christ, you really want to do that? You got to go get like 1,000 deals for that to even make any sense, right?
Yeah.
So again, it's just understand money. A lot of people need to understand how money actually works. A lot of people need to understand how you can create. Wholesaling is amazing, and it's made me, largely who I am. But like you said, you nailed it. I compare it to the nightlife industry, whereas like bartending is cool while you're in college, and there's nothing against bartenders, but it's a black hole. You stay there too long, and you end up being 50 as a bartender. And I don't think anybody ever lived their life to be like, oh man, unless you're like a top mixologist in the world, which is like the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. I don't think that that's what you set out to be. Same thing with wholesaling. It's like, dude, the year we made $8 million, I cleared right around $1 million. Way too much headache for the money that I made. Way too much.
100%.
Yeah.
So what I really like about the whole community, guys, and just so you know, there's always these like different courses and communities, and they're $8, $9, $10, $20, $30,000. What I really like about Willy's is it's nowhere near that, guys. You can afford to get in the community extremely easily because it's less than $400 a month. So we just talked about the numbers. You do 5 deals a month, you're making 80 racks, and it's only $397 a month to be in the community.
$297. Yeah, $297.
$297. Sorry, so $297.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And here's the crazy part: is if you refer people to the community, you get $100 a month in perpetuity. So as long as they stay in the community, which if they're doing deals, why in the heck wouldn't they? Right. You refer 3 people, you're in the community for free. You refer 100
100%.
people, you're getting paid 10 racks a month for just bringing people in so they can do more deals. Because here's the whole thing: Willy's one person, right? His partner is Justin Colby, great friend of mine. 2 guys. They can only do so many deals on their own. They need a huge amount of people to just get these deals so they can take care of all the back end stuff. Split you off of 40%. They keep 60. Guys, it's incredible how it's been set up. Dude, honestly, we've just met recently, and I'm proud of you, bro.
I appreciate
this is crazy, man. It's really cool what you've built.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I appreciate that, number one. Justin, we partnered on the school community side. Justin's a great friend. I'm about to see him in Hawaii tomorrow for a mastermind. And yeah, I mean, when I came to, Justin's been in the game a lot longer than I have, right? 17 years, I think now. And he's been educating for 10. So he's really, I call him an old head because he doesn't like it, but he's like, yeah, I kind of am. I'm like, bro, you almost have 2 decades in the game. That's a long time, right? So you've been there, done that. You've seen it. You went through 07, 08. And when I brought this to him, because he was a traditional guy, right? Wholesale, BRRRR, right? That kind of stuff. And again, nothing wrong with it. And then when I brought him this and I showed it to him, he was like, what? And I'm like, yeah, no, look, check out these deals, like actual address, look at the case studies, this, that. And he was just blown away. So much so that, the science of flipping has been his brand for almost 10 years, right? Almost 11 years. Mm-hmm. He changed it to the science of reverse flipping just in the last 2 months. So, I mean, you want to talk about, thank you. You want to talk about, believing in something and like seeing it. And, I spoke to his audience. They started coming in day one. His students started getting deeds, right? And then, we've seen other communities come in, boom, boom. They just start getting deals like literally day one. The average right now is about within 5 days of being in the community, people get their first deed. Which again,
that's insane, dude. 5
days.
days.
No, it's impressive. I mean, I was coaching wholesaling too, and some of my friends are like the best wholesale coaches in the world, right, in the country. Nobody can say that. Not even close, right? They're happy if a student gets a deal within 45 days, right? In that model.
Well, it's because there's so much competition, man. Everyone's a wholesaler, right? So everyone's coming after that same deal. The thing about these guys is no one's trying to get these deals. Like even Willy said,
no one's talking.
The people that are like at the biggest masterminds that are have the biggest operations, they're not wanting to touch these deals because of the back end issues and all the stuff that has to be cleared up. The secret sauce to what Willy's doing is that he's got the entire team on the back end that's seen everything from A to Z to clear these things up. And correct me if I'm wrong, 45 to 60 days is the average to clear those things up.
Usually, yeah. If it's something that needs, and we're talking about mostly on the debt side, keep in mind if it's something that needs 2 probates coming in, that might take a little bit longer for sure because you got to clear title and then do the debt side. We are so well versed and good at it that we've learned how to run them in parallel, where we're running the probate and doing the debt mitigation as well. And you learn that in the community. So yeah, man, look, I'm all about efficiencies, right? My partner Adam on the reverse flip side, we are building out tech for this. I mean, we have applied so much technology to it. We've applied full transparency to it, right? Next year, it looks like we're going to do about 2,000 deals just in 2025 alone. We're already averaging about 100 deals a month. It's crazy to say that, but yeah, it's on average, it's about 4 to 5 deeds a day, every day.
Wow.
We had a day last week where we bought 11, which was crazy. You know, in the last 45 days, the community, we went from being in 1 state to 17. I mean, in a 45-day window. So yeah, and look, we've full transparency, right? We've broken a lot of stuff along the way, and we're like, all right, well, we got to figure this out. We got to figure that out, right? But I was already solving for problems, you know, on a fairly high level. When you get up to the multiple 7-figure mark, right? Wholesaling, now you're solving for bigger problems. I love this because I just love solving for such a bigger X. Like you're solving for a way bigger national problem. And it's 2 problems, really. One problem is the seller side. Where do these deals go? Because the option is usually bankruptcy or auction, which sucks for both suck for the seller. Okay. Then we can come in and save that. On the student side or the education or community side, it's like, well, these guys are just getting taught the same crap again and again and again. So that's why you have such a big fallout rate. That's why you have people come in and out of real estate, or they just never hit that they hit that ceiling where they're like, man, I could just never get past that 3 to 5 deal a month mark. And the answer, which this was an aha moment for me in the masterminds, was just like, the answer was usually just like, you got to hire more. You got to spend more to make more. You got to do more marketing. And one day I was just like, dude, you know what? From a guy that spent over 120 grand a month for 3 years consecutively, like that was my nut. That's bullshit. Like there's gotta be a better way. Like this gotta be a better way. Like this is just dumb. This is dumb because we're all, and again, I say this to wholesalers all the time. I'm like, who in here is okay and happy with going to a seller that has 20 other dipshits talking to them? Because that's a losing man's game. You know, like I don't know if you've ever read the book, Blue Ocean, Red Ocean, but there's a red ocean, which is, it's all shark infested waters, right? It's so much red because there's so much blood in the water. And then there's blue oceans. It's blue because there's no blood in the water, really, because no one's really playing in there. So the reverse flip thing is a massively blue ocean because of the complexity, because no one knows how to do them, because up until me, no one really taught how to do them. And up until me and us, no one had a way to standardize this and to mass, to masses, which was the loss mitigation side. It's very complex. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, it took me 8 years of learning all these things to finally say, oh, wow, that's where the pieces fit together. But if the marketplace is indicative of anything, it was ready for it. It's happy with it. And it's taken off way more than what I would have thought, for sure.
That's awesome. And remember, guys, that what he's talking about, all these issues on the back end, if you're in the community, you're not dealing with any of that. Nothing. All you're doing is bringing the deed. That's it. And the cool thing about it is, and I touched on this earlier, is that there's a difference between ownership and debt. So if you own the deed, you're not paying anything while everything's getting done either. You just own the deed, hand it over to the team. They're taking care of all that back end stuff. Nothing's coming out of your pocket. So think about when you're doing, if you've done a flip, if you've done a BRRRR, if you've done anything like that, you've got debt service. You have to keep that going. So there's just money coming out of your pocket. You're bleeding if you don't get that thing done quick enough. With this, nothing comes out of your pocket. even to get the deed, you can put it on the back end, which is crazy.
Correct. And again, Justin and I have been, investors ourselves for many, many, many years. Right? I'm going on 8, he's going on 17. We get you. We've been you. We know the problems. We've been wholesalers at a very high level. We've been flippers at a very high level. We've been landlords at a very high level. We've bought data at a very high level. We've spent marketing dollars to the tune of tens of millions of dollars collectively, right? We get it. We knew what the problems were. And me specifically, I told Justin, I was like, we need to make this as seamless and as friction-free for the consumer, AKA the community member, to go out and get a deal, period. Like, what the fuck do we care about? People care about, can I go out and do this and get a deal? That's what they care about. That is proof of concept. All right, so how do we eliminate all the bullshit and take it all out of the way so they have no excuse? Well, data's easy, cool. Marketing's easy, cool. Teach them that. Give them all the paperwork, right? And even when they find it, we'll fund it. That way there is no excuse for you to be like, oh, well, I couldn't do that deal because you don't need it. You don't need it. We do it. So we've eliminated all that. And of course, we make our fee. And I think it's more than fair, but yeah, like, and then the exit.
Oh, so are you saying that, like, let's say to buy the deed, it's $5,000, let's say, and the seller does not want to defer that to the end. They want that money right now. If that JV partner doesn't have that money, you guys will front that?
We fund it. Yep.
Oh, guys.
Yeah,
like,
we fund that as well. Yeah.
Like
zero
insane.
no's here, dude. Zero. Like zero. Now, to be fair, and again, I'm a very transparent guy. If we fund you $5,000, we're going to make $7,500 on the back end. So the 5 plus 2,500. So 1.5x return. Because our money's not free either, right? Our money costs money.
100%.
But you are 100% allowed to defer that to the end. And it gets you the deal, which is what you want. Period.
So then the 60-40 split, you guys are taking $7,500 off the top, and then it's split 60-40.
Correct.
And guys, one thing I want to talk about too is Willie and his team are giving up a ton, like giving up 40% of a deal for all you got to do is just bring the deal. That's way too much. It honestly is. It's not going to stay like that forever.
No, it's going to change in 2025. Q1, we are going to change it. It won't be a ridiculous change, but we'll probably end up somewhere at 70-30, maybe 75-25. It's
which
a
is
lot
more
of
fair,
back end
honestly.
work. It is more fair. Yeah. We wanted to prove the model, even though I already had so much proof, coming from my own business, but and my students, but we really wanted to grow the community. We wanted to make it as easy as possible. Every company that's anybody from a Netflix to a take your pick, right? Amazon, right? They do this model as well, right? Where they roll something out, they see what the market reception is, and then they slowly but surely increment that fee or that cost or whatever. But again, you're getting, dude, look, I always tell people this. If this was around 2017 when I got started, I would have never even taken a look at wholesale. I just wouldn't have.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have because I there's no better feeling than controlling the asset day one. You have full control, right? 2, 3, there's no competition. There's no one there with you. No one. And a seller has never in this model ever said, well, I got somebody else to take a look at it. There's no one else to take a look at it, brother. There's no one else coming. The cavalry's not coming. Like, it is what it is. Because our marketplace has forgotten about these sellers. No one's marketing to them.
You're probably getting people saying, oh, I've had people ask and they can't because of this, this, and this. And then you say, well, actually, we can, and we've got experience doing it. So, guys, 2 things. The community is, again, 40% to you for bringing the deal, 60% to Will and his team. That's going to be changing, but you will be grandfathered into it, right?
Yes.
So if you get into the community now, you're going to stay at that. So I urge you guys to get into that community. There's going to be a link in the description of this video. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, I'll put it in the description of there as well. You can reach out to myself or Willie on Instagram and get into the community, because before the end of the year, you're going to be at 40% of each deal. And you can start building some serious wealth. Like Will was saying before, you want to have cash flow, but you also want to build wealth. So you can do some wholesales from the community, but then start holding on to some of them, because the more real estate you own, you can start depreciating it. You can do bonus depreciation where you write off the entire depreciation of the property year one. So you can literally pay zero in taxes legally.
I don't. Yeah, I don't pay anyone in tax. I now own, it's got to be close to 35 million in real estate. I'm never paying a dime ever again in taxes. Just not gonna happen.
Well, bro, you saw my license plate.
That's right, tax free.
Guys, that's my license plate. Tax free, baby. Tax free.
That's right. That's right.
You know.
Look,
guys,
I'll tell you.
Get into
I'll tell
it
you
for
this.
sure.
Yeah, if you're paying taxes, again, it's one thing if you're just starting out, right? You got to pay the piper, you got to learn. There's a time and place and a journey for everybody. But if you're paying taxes and you're operating at a high level, you're doing something very, very wrong. Very, very wrong. And the CPA that tells you, oh, well, you have a fire, 100%, he's gone, you know. And again, it's just, I say this to, and you know, maybe we can end on this, but I say this to a lot of people that follow me, and I teach this to my community. I say, look, you do not, you know, want to be an expert in loss mitigation and short sales and bankruptcies and tax liens and bonus depreciation and this and that. No, what you want to do is you want to partner with experts. I am not an expert at any one of those things. I want to be abundantly clear on this show. I am not an expert. I am an expert at finding experts. That's what I'm an expert at. And that's where you really catapult your wealth. Because I know I'm not the smartest guy for taxation. My tax guy runs circles around most people. And I pay him top dollar for that. But he's the expert. Now, if he comes into my world, he's like, well, I don't know what the hell's going on with this transaction. Okay, what did you do here? And I'm like, well, that's right, because you're not the expert with the thing, right? And then, you know, all the loss mate, blah, blah, blah. And even the loss mate guys, they teach me stuff every single day where I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, you can do that. Yeah, because of like HUD section so-and-so. And I'm like, HUD section so, like, who knows what's on a mortgage doc, page 127, paragraph 3, section 2. He's like, oh, well, it's in the code. And I'm like, she got me shitting me. And like the one thing, it's just, again, you don't know what you don't know. And what you don't know, I do know, and that was a tongue twister, for a fact today, is costing you a dear amount of money and time. And it's not so much the money. I'm 33 now. I learned this at a very young age, thankfully. It's the time that you're wasting. All right. It's the time. And my favorite quote to live by is, I'd rather have 20% of a watermelon than 100% of a grape. And I see a lot of dipshits, including myself back in the day, walking around with a handful of grapes, and they think that they own it all. And I'm like, you could have a watermelon with a bunch of other people, and you could be so much, you know, more successful and richer, but they don't see it. You know, you have to be open to receiving that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. Wise words there, guys. I would highly recommend that you check out the community. Like I said, I'll put it in the description. Check it out. I think there's a webinar on the link, so you guys can learn a little bit more about it. But get into the community. It's $297 a month. Like, honestly, with where inflation's at, that's like a month's worth of your coffee at Starbucks.
That's less than Lifetime Fitness, you know?
Yeah, man.
This is what it is. Some gym memberships are more.
So get into the community, start learning how to get these deals, go get them. And then, like Will said, man, your time is so valuable. Like, if you spend just your time, I bet you could spend a couple hours a day, tops, and get a number of these deals. So let's say you work 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, that's 10 hours. Most people are working 10 hours in one day. You're doing it in a week. Take the weekends off, spend it with your family. And if you get, like I said before, 5 deals in a month, that's $80,000, just shy of $1 million. And you've got all of your time to go chase a passion, to go spend time with family, or just spend a shit ton of time on this and go make millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah. I mean, again, everybody has their own thing. I've learned that too, right? Not everybody wants to build out $1 billion company like I'm here building out. That's not for everybody. I get it. There's no right or wrong. I got friends that make $500,000 a year, much less problems than I have. It's great, you know, but I'd kill myself if I was moving at that pace because I know that that's not what I want, right? And they're like on a beach, they're like, oh, that's, I'm like, God bless you. Just can't do it. I can't turn this thing off since I was a kid. I don't know what to do with it. I can't do it. You know, I'm up at 5, I roll till 9. It's just what I love.
It's a gift and a curse, brother.
It's a double-edged sword, man. But you know what? I stopped fighting it a long time ago. I'm just like, you know what, man? I'm going to be me. And, you know, through that course, being able to help so many more people and bring this to the masses and showing this to so many people, it's the ultimate fulfillment to be able to see when people come into this community and like, dude, like I was about to quit, or dude, I didn't even know you could do this, or like, man, like I'm a single mom. This lady the other day, you know, I can't believe I just got my first 2 deeds. I been doing wholesaling for a year. I never got a deal. Like this is incredible, right? Community's crazy. They're always messaging me like it's become its own thing, if you will. So it's almost like a family, which again I didn't foresee, but it's awesome to see that on the fulfillment side.
The right kind of community, that's how it should be, right? It should
Agreed.
be like a little family working together towards a common goal of just helping a lot of people. And when you help a lot of people, you end up making a lot of money. That's what it comes down to.
You know who Jim Rohn is, right? He had a very famous quote. He mentored Tony Robbins, and he said, you help enough people solve their bills, and you'll never have any of your own. And
yeah,
I think he nailed that. Yeah.
Dude, I just read one of his books. I'm not sure if you're a big reader or if you listen to Audible or whatever, but
I'm a big audio guy.
Man, you got to listen to this one by Jim Rohn. It's let's see. It is The Art of Exceptional Living.
Mm-hmm.
Great book.
Yeah.
Great book.
Amazing.
It's like it's like little lessons, and then it actually pulls in different speeches of his.
Yeah.
Where he gives the speech and it touches on that lesson. It's really good, man. Dynamic book to listen to because
sure.
Again, it's the speeches, but then it's also him talking about the different lessons. So let's end with this, man. Kind of what's the vision? Where do you see like yourself, your business 5 years from now?
5 years from now. Well, the community, our plan, I haven't thought as far as 5, but I'll tell you what the vision is for the next year for sure. Because it's moving so fast that I sincerely couldn't tell you 5. that's how fast this whole thing is moving. In the next year is to have 2,000 people into that community, which I think we'll hit it much sooner than that at the pace that we're at. To be top 3 largest private American home buyers, period, in terms of transactions, and to have resolved the loss mitigation problem in America, to standardize it through buying real estate. The longer tier after that is, you know, for the main business to license what we're doing to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and all the other servicers, because there's a $10+ billion problem a year, every single year, in deals that don't get loss mitigated. And what that means is that there's millions and millions and millions of homeowners that are ending up in auction and this and that, again, I'm not a crusader, but it would help them, right? And it doesn't have to be that way.
Wow. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it was a pleasure having you on, brother. I
appreciate
you. I appreciate your time and just kind of serving my community so they can get into your community and we can all just grow together.
Absolutely, man. Well, I appreciate you having me, man. It's been a pleasure.
Of course. All right, guys. Well, if you got some value from this, please share this with anybody and everybody that you know. Check out the link in the description so you can check out the community that Will has. Get into it. $297 a month. You refer 3 people, you're in there for free. You refer anybody, you're getting $100 a month in perpetuity. And I didn't even mention this. You're getting 10% of the deals that they do, right?
Correct.
So you get 100 people in there. They're each doing a deal a day. You're getting 10% of whatever they get as far as a wholesale rip in there. So, guys, this could be a way for you to make a ridiculous amount of money and not spend a ridiculous amount of time. So time is our greatest asset. If you don't spend time making money and you have money working for you, you can spend your time doing things that you want to do with the people you want to do them with. So share this with everyone you know. Follow Will. It's Willy Numbers.
Yeah, with a Y. Yep. Willy Numbers.
Willy Numbers. Follow him on all things. And guys, until next time, I love y'all. Peace.
Appreciate it.